The Overwatch 2 game director apologizes for the state of PvE and gives some insight into how we actually got here. You're not going to believe some of the stuff in this, guys. Let's just get stuck into this. So this is the director's take, reflecting on the future of Overwatch 2. Let's just do it. So, hey all, it's been an emotional week in the world of Overwatch. A few days ago, we talked about a change in approach to PvE in Overwatch 2 that released a high-level roadmap for the year. We're really excited for everything we'll be launching soon. But much of the discussion this week has been about how we're cancelling PvE outright, which isn't accurate. So I want to take some time to discuss some of that with you here. So let's talk about how we got here. Let's talk about how they actually came up with a communication plan. Whoever advised them on what they did with that terrible stream, which is 30 minutes of like a warm-up band talking about Star Watch, and then hits you with like the most crushing news Overwatch has literally had since Jeff left, right? Just in the way it was delivered, it was so terrible. I cannot explain to you how bad this is. If you're going to say to the player base, we are removing a feature everybody has anticipated for a long time, because Overwatch 2 was as thus, yeah? A PvE expansion with a full campaign that would be playable from the get-go, that would give you a massively deep story, tons of cinematics, loads of lore, and you could play through it all. That would be awesome. And it's co-op as well. Then there are hero missions with hero talents. You can level up your hero. There's loads of associated stuff with that. Endless replayability. Insane. That would give you 2 games of Overwatch, yeah? And they've said about this in the past, going, oh, well, there was two games, right? So there was too much development going on. We couldn't handle it. They talked about that in the GameSpot article, I believe. If that had happened, that creates a new player base for the game. It captures a new audience, an audience that doesn't care about PvP. PvP is fine. They didn't develop PvP enough. Aaron in this article actually does admit to that, which is interesting. But you imagine having a fully fledged PvE campaign and everything that goes with it, as I just explained. That drops. You can then play Overwatch without PvP, without even touching PvP. Because you know what the biggest selling point... do you know what? Screw this. Do you know what the biggest selling point of Overwatch 2 is? The biggest selling point of Overwatch 2 is the heroes. That is how Titan got salvaged. Bobby Kotick looked at the characters in the game and went, yeah, you make a game based on these characters, off you go. If that clown knows it would be the draw, right? Building on that and giving a fully fledged PvE experience would be massive for the game. Absolutely massive. Instead, we're not getting that. And also, in terms of PvE being cancelled, there is something else I want to say on this as well. PvE it's not cancelled, but the vision is cancelled. If you take the campaign and chop that up and throw it into the Battle Pass and use it to sell the Battle Pass, because I'm pretty sure the way you'll access this stuff will be through buying the Battle Pass. Maybe they even go down the route of selling you like a ticket to access it. Like, I'm off to the Overwatch cinema to get into it. Again, we don't know. They're not telling us. But you can bet your bottom dollar it's going to be something like that. 100%, because that's the whole reason for this, yeah? Would you watch a show on Netflix that was like, it comes out once a month? You'd be bored shitless. You'd be like, imagine you get one bad episode. You'd probably forget the show's even on. That's the problem we've got here. If it's not banger after banger after banger after banger, people are just going to be like, well, that was terrible. What the hell was that? I'm not going to play it. Anyway, that's my rant. Let's just get back into this, because the last few days, I've been fuming. I don't understand what's going on here. Blizzard has been, it is an executive run company, and it has been for a while now. The game directors, the people who actually are game developers, don't run anything, right? The executives are running the show. But there's some interesting bits in this where Aaron is sort of taking responsibility for some bits and pieces. And I don't know whether he's been shoved out the door shoved out in front of the crowd to do that. Because also another thing is, I'm pretty sure that old Bobby Kotick, I bet he loved it when you started getting people like Jeff and that lot who started becoming faces of the game. Because you can shove them in front of the camera and make them say things. You know what I mean? It's not you that take the heat as the executives. It's the developers who take the heat. And the devs should never take the heat. You're a moron if you go out and attack developers, by the way, guys. A lot of people in game development are in it because they've got a passion for it. Because they could go into other industries and just make more money, if that's all they were bothered about. And they're not. They're here to make games. So don't rag on devs. Anyway, I'm getting on a right mad tangent here. I'm just going crazy. Right, let's get stuck into this. When we announced Overwatch 2 in 2019, the idea for the game was centered around a PvP game. The idea was centered around the PvP game we released last October, and on the PvE side, the story missions and hero missions. So for story missions, focus on fast-paced co-op gameplay, as well as story cinematics and cutscenes that expand the world of Overwatch. Story missions tell a linear narrative about the heroes of Overwatch reuniting and battling the new Null Sector threat, pushing the story of Overwatch forward for the first time since our original game released. These missions take place on a huge map with new enemies and new cinematics. We will begin to release them in Season 6. The work done here is amazing, leaps and bounds above what we've built for PvE previously in our game, and I can't wait for players to get their hands on them. We'll be sharing more details in the coming weeks. So what's interesting here is this is the first time we get sort of public confirmation that, well, I guess this has come in bits and pieces before, but Null Sector is the main threat. Why do you think we've got no Ramatra cinematic? Why do you think there was no Sojourn cinematic? Because Ramatra and Sojourn were integral to the story of Overwatch 2. They were sort of the lead up, the prologue, you could say, to Overwatch 2. They are like they're just in the game now. With Sojourn cinematics coming in Season 6, so I guess that's when they're going to sort of start this stuff and start dropping the missions associated with it, and then we're going to need to wait, ages in between them before we get the next. It's crazy. PvE has been chopped up to fill out the battle pass to rinse people for money. That's literally what it is. Right? I'm glad we're getting PvE experiences. Right? Listen, guys. Right? I'm glad we're getting them because I'll play them. And I hope they're better than things like Starwatch. Not that Starwatch was bad, but it was very light, yeah? I want, like, an upgrade of the Uprising, or of the Blackwatch. What was that? I mean, it was part of Uprising, wasn't it? But the one on Rialto. I remember going to Blizzard, and I remember sitting in their auditorium in Irvine, and all the devs were there, and they're showing us this, like, showcase, and we're like, oh my god, this is actually insane. This looks incredible. This is the future of Overwatch. We can't wait to see all this stuff. And then they were saying things like, well, actually the engine, we're really pushing the engine to its limits. We're going to need a new engine if we do any more of this stuff, which hilariously, they've got a new engine for Overwatch 2 that looks the fucking same as the Overwatch 1 engine. But, yeah, it can facilitate PvE better. But wait, PvE is now really just, it's crazy. I'm actually losing my mind over this. It's crazy. Right, let's carry on. I'm legit losing my mind over this. Right, hero missions. So this is what's going. And again, last word on the story missions. Story missions they're still here, but you're not getting them all together, right? This is just like, they're going to come out piecemeal every now and again, and that's it. And they're going to be tied into a battle pass. We don't know otherwise at the moment. If they weren't, Blizzard had come out and said, yeah, they're not in the battle pass, don't worry about it. They probably are. Anyway, hero missions, hero mode. On the other hand, I turn into a local, encompassed an in-development game mode that allows players to upgrade individual heroes through talent trees, providing a deeply replayable version of PvE in Overwatch 2. It was a really exciting concept, something that not only resonated with players, but that the team was passionate about and really dedicated to. This is the mode we're no longer moving forward. We were passionate, we were really dedicated, we knew it was great, players resonated with it, we're not moving forward with it. Why? Money. It's easier and it's cheaper to just shove stuff into a battle pass and go through a seasonal model and spam stuff out than it is to make an actual game. To give you some context for this change, I'd like to talk about the past and the origins of Team 4. The Overwatch team was founded in the wake of a cancelled game at Blizzard called Project Titan. That game had many facets, but at its heart, it was an FPS MMO. You know what? I'll tell you about this. So I'm sure this is out there, but basically, Titan went to shit, and it was like, well, we've made all these assets. What are we going to do with them? Bobby gets the boys in and says, right, what are you going to do about this? They start showing him what they've made. Bobby likes the hero designs. Wow, they're great. Make a game based on the hero designs. Off you go. So the devs go away, and they give us Overwatch, heavily focused on the heroes. So don't you think a PvE expansion or sequel, right, would make a lot of sense if the heroes are the main selling point of your game? They 100% are the main selling point of this game. There are actually prominent content creators out there right now on this game. This was their first FPS game. Not for me, because I'm old as shit. I played like CS 1.6, Day of Defeat, unreal. You can Quake. I mean, what the hell? I've played Doom. I played Doom 2 on the SNES. That's how old I am. Actually, I think it was Doom 1. I think it was Final Doom, maybe, which was the thing. But I'm ancient, right? What I'm saying is, Overwatch attracts players because of the design of its heroes. They look at it and go, "Oh my god, that looks awesome. Look at Genji. Look at Diva." I'm looking at them. I'm looking at my Genji statue, my Diva statue. I've got a thingy behind there as well. Like, that's what brings people in. So you would double down on that, but no. Anyway, let's move on. The Overwatch team, especially at its inception, considered itself an MMO development team. As we transitioned away from that original concept and started creating Overwatch, we included plans to one day return to that scope. We had a crawl, walk, run plan. Overwatch was the crawl, a dedicated version of PvE was the walk, and the MMO was the run. Now, I have been told that the crawl was basically early access. That's how they viewed Overwatch. It was like the bare bones basic game. It was like early access. Then we're going to plug the PvE in, which has been confirmed here. The MMO thing, I mean, this is the first I've heard of that. Going into like, we're going full circle and we're going to bring back Titan would have been kind of cool to see. But this crawl, run, walk thing is something the developers always go on about. It's one of their key things. It's like, yeah, we'll put this thing into the game and then we'll slowly build up. They never come out with like a big boom, right? Everything's sort of being built on and that's the way they function. Anyway. And as some of us considered that final game a true realization of the original version of Project Titan, when we launched Overwatch in 2016, we quickly started talking about what that next iteration could be. Looking back at that moment, it's now obvious that we weren't as focused as we should have been on a game that was a runaway hit. This is crazed because this is just crazed. This is an actually crazy statement. How did you not know you had the biggest game in the world? Number one. Instead, we stayed focused on a plan that was years old. Work began on the PvE portion of the game, and we steadily continued shifting more and more of that team to work on those features. Okay, so here's where we get a problem, isn't it? Because I don't think this is a bit of bollocks, to be honest, because they knew the game was a runaway hit, yeah? But they're thinking, guess what? When we make Overwatch 2 and it's got PvE, it'll be another massive smash hit. But why didn't they develop a secondary team at that time? Was there constraints placed on them? Were there budget constraints? Blizzard is notorious for not giving the same salary as other companies in the same area. Think of Riot. They pay people like 20, 30% more than Blizzard does, right? Was that a problem? Couldn't Blizzard attract developers? Were there problems with the way the team was run? Were there crazy people in charge? Who knows, right? But it seems like a massive problem. You would sit there, anyone with a brain, I mean, I'm not talking with the power of hindsight here, but you sit there and you go, hey, PvP is really big. We've got loads of players. We're going to keep making stuff for this, which they did do. Remember, they did do this up until like 2019. We're going to keep doing this. And then we're going to also put the main team onto Overwatch 2. But we're also going to build the other team. But it looks to me like they didn't. They just were like, we've got one team. Forget the old game. Let's just work on the new game. Oh, wait, we ain't got enough people to get this done. It's going to take us years. And then we end up in the mess we're in now. That seems crazy to me. That seems absolutely crazy. I mean, and he just sort of say that. Things rarely go as planned in game development. We struggle to find our footing with the hero mission experience early on. Scope grew. We were trying to do too many things at once and we lost focus. The team built some really great things, including hero talent, new enemy units, and early versions of missions, but we were never able to bring all these elements together needed to ship a polished, cohesive experience. Bring in Exhibit A, Your Honor. Is that what you say in court? I don't know. Look at this, right? Bobby, tell everyone about the random projects for Overwatch 1 you would shove on us. The team would do overtime for, only to get them cancelled, and for months of Overwatch 2 dev to have been lost. Or how almost entire teams are turning over and citing you as the reason. Don't be shy. So then we know that. Let's read this again. Things rarely go as planned in game development. We struggled to find our footing with the hero mission experience early on. Scope grew. We were trying to do too many things at once and we lost focus. The team built some really great things, including hero talents, new enemy units, and early versions of missions, but we were never able to bring it all together. Or did Bobby cancel it because he wanted a free-to-play experience, not a box sale of a This is just fact, actually. He didn't want a free-to-play experience. He did want a free-to-play experience, sorry. He didn't want a box sale. He wanted something which would be very similar to... you've heard of Call of Duty? Warzone at the time was popping off. Yeah, and how is that supported? So let's put that into Overwatch. Yeah, forget what you're working on. We want more cash. It's crazed. It's just crazed, man, because they could have had so much. They could have had so much. We had an exciting but gargantuan vision that we were continually pulling resources away from the live game in an attempt to realise it. I can't help but look back on our original ambitions for Overwatch and feel like we used the slogan of crawl, walk, run to continue to march forward with a strategy that wasn't working. We had announced something audacious. Our players had high expectations for it, but we were no longer felt like we could deliver it. We needed to make an incredibly difficult decision. One we knew would disappoint our players, the team, and everyone looking forward to hero missions. The Overwatch team understands this deeply. This represented years of work and emotional investment. They are wonderful, incredibly talented people and truly have a passion for our game and the work that they do. And what makes me sad about all of this is I know they are. I'm sad because I won't ever get to see any of this. Like, are they going to... Do they have some way of, like, maybe salvaging what they've done? Or are these things just gone, lost to the winds of time? You know, we're never going to see talent, so we're never going to see... Like, they'll never say never, surely, but what has lost, like, years of development here from top developers? Where is this stuff? It's so sad to me, this is. Lastly, people have wondered why this announcement came at this time. Yeah, they have. They really have. Actually, they have because of this. Because if you go over here and we take a look at this from the GameSpot interview, it says, the interesting thing about it... In fact, let me just zoom in. The interesting thing about it, this is Aaron's words, it's such a difference releasing content for players that are playing your game instead of saving up all of that content for one big release that you're going to do later. So we came to the realization that this wasn't the right way to be developing for all of Overwatch. It was about a year and a half ago that we made the decision to really shift strategy. A year and a half ago, we decided, we're not going to be launching the PvE. Convenient, isn't it, that they didn't announce this when Overwatch 2 was launched, isn't it? So people buy into it thinking, oh, well, the PvE is coming at some point. Honestly, this is how I was thinking, and I know a lot of my friends were thinking along this way. BlizzCon this year was going to be a massive announcement for PvE. Crazy cinematics. Guess what? It's coming out, boom, and then we get a launch date for it, and then it's going to be massive. There's probably people out there that bought the Watchpoint pack that have invested into the game thinking, yeah, I'm supporting the game because I want the PvE experience, and then it's just been taken away. Yes, I know we're still getting PvE, but we're not getting it in the way it should have been delivered, yeah? This is the issue we've got. It's such a massive issue, this is. We couldn't, and we also knew that we couldn't go back to pulling people away from the live game in service of that original vision again. So made a difficult decision to cut hero missions and started planning for the future. From there, we needed to update the vision for the game, gain confidence in our new direction, and roll out the changes to the team. The decision was the start of a long process, not the final piece of it. This has been hard for us, but as the director on this project, I have to do my best to make decisions that put the game and the community first, even when those decisions are disappointing. In this case, I had trouble pivoting away from a vision that just wasn't working, and for that, I would like to apologise to our players and to our team. I'm sorry. I don't think I don't think they're his words. I don't think that is real. I don't believe that. I just don't believe that. I think this is like, get out there and tell them it was your fault. And anyway, you can argue that this is not the right decision anyway, because clearly they were able to pump content into the game. And in fact, no, that's not true, is it? Because if they cancelled this a year and a half ago, that would have been when everyone started working on what we're getting right now. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm losing my mind. Right then, we are focusing our efforts and our passion into making this game an ever-evolving experience. We are still committed to building many of the elements we talked about at BlizzCon 2019, including the story missions that delve into the next chapter of the Overwatch universe, new types of co-op content we haven't yet shared, and new stories that we're planning to tell both in and out of the game. We're excited about this direction, and we can't wait for you to finally get to experience what we've been building. Overwatch was born from the ashes of Project Titan. It was a moment of metamorphosis for the team and the project, and something beautiful came out of it. This is another moment of change, and the future of Overwatch will be born out of it. Yeah, it will. Because here's the thing, right? Overwatch 2, it's just all Overwatch 2 is going to be now is a primarily PvP game, which is fine. This is why we're all playing the game, right? But we had that allure of the PvE, bringing in a ton of players, revitalizing the game, giving us that feeling that we, you know, I'm like, you know, I remember. I'm going to end the video. I'm just going to ramble here. So if you want to leave, just leave. I'm just going to ramble. So I remember 2019. I'm at BlizzCon. I knew Overwatch 2 was a thing because we'd found out a few days before, and couldn't wait to see what this was. Got told there is an insane cinematic with a giant Omnic, and I'm like, oh my god, this sounds insane. Got told about all of the PvE. Got told that this is going to be a new chapter for the game, like the sky's the limit. So I'm thinking, oh my god, this is going to be insane. I remember seeing the cinematic, that big Omnic going through Paris, destroying the city, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh my god. So it finally clicked in my head. Can you imagine what it would be like going on a raid to destroy that Omnic? Imagine if you had 10 players on your team. There was no enemy player control, well, no PvP. Just literally, it's PvE. It's a raid. 10 of your players, big 10-person team against this. And you have to complete various objectives. Think Destiny raids, whatever. That would be insane. Then what about dungeons you can run through for equipment, for gear, for skill? Literally, I was losing my mind. I'm like, this is going to be massive. This is going to be an insane game. We fast forward to now, and this is what we get. And you can understand why I'm pissed. You can understand why a lot of other people are pissed, because I bet they had the same thoughts. When you think about the Blackwatch mission, the Retribution mission on Rialto, you know, I remember when I went to Irvine and they showcased it to us, to a bunch of content creators, and they're explaining to us that, you know, we need a new engine. I think I might have said this in the video. I can't even remember. But we need a new engine. This is basically the limit we can do with the current engine, which of course is a joke now because a lot of this stuff is like, you know, it's not going to be the same. But I remember the dropship coming in, and they were explaining to us like how difficult it was to make the dropships that fly in and drop the Talon troopers. And I'm like, it was just, I don't know. I feel I'm honestly going to say this, and I'm going to leave it at that. I feel like they have lost a lot here. They have lost a lot. I think PvP is still strong. I think what they've done with it is, on the whole, okay. I can see a future where they keep adding stuff. You know, it was always the meme with Overwatch. All you've got to do is update it. It doesn't really matter what you do, and people will be interested. And that is true. But I worry that when a lot of people looked further afield, further in time, they were thinking, you know what, when this PvE drops, a lot's resting on it. I mean, I've made videos going like, what, you know, a lot is resting on this. I even did a recap at the start of the year. I was that hyped. I was like, well, I can't wait to see what PvE is going to be. This is going to be the launch of Overwatch. And actually, it turns out that when Season 6 drops, we're just going to get story, well, it says story missions, so maybe we get more than one, and we get some cinematics associated with that, and then what? You play through one mission or two, and then you have to wait for the next one, and I'm like, and then in between there's going to be these random sort of mini events like Star Watch. I don't know. I don't think people are going to play Overwatch for PvE. I think they're just going to play PvP. Oh, look, there's a new little arcade mode. There's a new little mission. I might blast it, but I'm back to PvP. That's fine. But I do think they've lost a lot here. All right, guys. Thank you for listening and watching to the video. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. And also, I'd just like to know like what your thoughts are on Overwatch at the moment. That would be, I think, quite interesting to read in the comments below. But yeah, interesting times for the game. It always is. All right, everyone. I'll catch you on the next one. See you soon.